Thanks for tuning in. This is Josh and the Built to Last podcast. Today our guest is Miss Rusty Burdge. Rusty, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here and wanted to just be able to spend some time and talk about the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and it's a lot.
You
guys can deal with a lot.
Yes.
So this podcast is really broken around how we help homeowners, right, become more educated about their home, become more educated about things they need to be out on the lookout for, all those types of things. So when you think of restoration company, what's the first thing that pops to mind?
Something bad has happened.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's true, right?
Yeah.
Something bad has happened.
You either had a fire, a flood, a storm damage, something catastrophic. And sometimes we get called in early enough that we can keep it from being catastrophic. And that's my best of hopes. And hopefully we can educate people to do that today.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thought. So what got you into this business, Rusty? What got you started in restoration? Because it's not a real female-dominated business.
It's not. And I'm one of the only master certified restorers in Tennessee that's a female, no less nationwide. So my father was a contractor. His father was a contractor. I wanted nothing to do with it. When I was 16 years old doing hot tar roofs in the summer with my dad, I was like, no, I'm done. And then I went to Florida and I was actually building houses, multi-million-dollar houses, and that was cool. Really enjoyed that. And then I moved up to Tennessee and I got headhunted by a restoration company. And the more I got into it, of learning how I could restore people's, not just their houses, but their things and the peace that brought them, when there was, my great-grandfather's grandfather clock or their family Bible that's from the 1800s. Those are things that I was like, wow, I can restore people's family heirlooms. That's pretty cool. And give them a peace of mind with the house and the knowledge that I had in the building industry anyway. Tying those two things together was very cool.
Yeah, it sounds like you can definitely help people put their lives back together after a disaster, right? And that's a lot of what you guys do.
It is a lot. We have to kind of be counselors at the same time, and I also have to be a big advocate, because I've learned, especially if there's like property managers involved, or it's an HOA, or it's got a tenant in it, there could be multiple policies. So we could deal with homeowners insurance, HOA insurance, all these different kinds of things that I need to be able to be educated about, so that I can be the best advocate for all the parties. And so I also become kind of a negotiator as well, and that's a big part of our job.
Yeah, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, I had a flood before I met you. I had a flood in my home about 5 years ago, and it was a pipe that broke behind a wall in the bathroom, behind a vanity, so, you got to tear everything out. And being in the trades, obviously, I'm jumping in, yanking everything out, getting everything shut down. But when it came to the water mitigation and making sure that the room was dry again and that I didn't have any mold issues, that's where I had to bring an expert in, right?
Yeah.
I've always been a handyman
that
does his own thing. But at the end of the day, when it comes to that type of stuff, you've got to get somebody involved. And it was really neat to see the dryers that they put in, and they didn't even have to yank my tile out, because you guys have some cool tools now.
Oh, we have some super cool technology, infrared dryers, all different kinds of things that we can utilize. And, who you call matters. So like you said, lots of construction guys know a lot of things about tearing things out and putting them back, but it's the water that you don't see or the things that migrate. And if you don't have the right tools for that, you end up paying for it 5-10 years down the line, when you have to tear things out because the tile starts popping and you don't know why, and you start smelling that funny smell. So we help that to not happen on the front end.
Yeah, and what's scary is there's a lot of house flippers in Nashville over the last 10-15 years that I've been here. And you've seen some of that, right? I know I've seen it.
Absolutely.
Just going in and people not being completely honest, or not knowing exactly how to do things right the first time.
I try to err on the side of they just didn't know what they didn't know versus you intentionally hit it. There are some of those out there, but a lot of people don't know what they don't know, and that's where we come in handy, because ever since the 2010 floods, if you think about that and how long it takes a structure to dry, a lot of people just gutted it, waited, and put things back, and they never really did get thoroughly dry. Yeah. So, but let's say it's only 20% wet versus, fully saturated. That takes a lot longer for that bacteria to grow and to expand and start growing up the walls than it did if it was really wet. You stick your hand to it, you go, yeah, it's wet. And that's how a lot of people decide whether something's wet or dry. They look at it, they stick their hand on it, but how much moisture is in your body? Yeah, so it's not a great gauge. So those are things that if you don't have somebody that is certified in restoration, you can really end up in a problem.
Yeah, and it can be scary as they go. So we know each other through our networking group, and you've gone into some pretty wild stories over the last couple of years. We've been meeting regularly, and the craziest one to me is the mushrooms. Can you tell a little bit about that? What happened there and how that
Absolutely.
went?
So there was a family that had a house that the person that was in it had passed away. They took possession of it. They thought they had everything secured, but they didn't live in the house. And a storm came through. The door blows open. A window is leaking. They had a couple of different intrusion points. And the AC's not on. They've shut everything down because they're going to sell the house. They haven't decided exactly what they're going to do with it yet. But they shut all the utilities off thinking, okay, there won't be water. There won't be the air running, no issues. But when that water came in from the front door, and then nobody noticed it, nobody notified them. It sat that way for a couple of months while they're out of state. And they come back. They get notified from the city that there is an issue in the house, and they had wallpaper. Well, this wallpaper was pretty green and white, but then when they walked in, it was pink and white and green and yellow. And then they went upstairs, and the humidity had gotten so high up there that it actually started growing big mushrooms off of the carpet. And I have some really cool pictures of that. But it was a nightmare for them, and it cost a lot more for them to get rid of that to even be able to list it, to be able to sell, or they were going to have to take a huge hit selling it as is. So it's the you don't know what you don't know when you're not there that gets you.
Yeah, especially if you're not there, right? So we have upcoming summer breaks that people will be taking a lot of vacations on. I know people will be traveling down to the beach and stuff like that. So what's some things homeowners should look for and look at while they are traveling before they travel so that they don't come home to mushrooms growing in their house or water floods?
So remember, you can go on vacation, but your house doesn't. So make sure that you do not shut your HVAC off, trying to save that few dollars. Leave it around 72 to 75, but check that condensate line before you leave. That's one of the major things that during the summers it gets backed up, and then you end up with an issue, especially if that unit's up in your attic. Gutters being cleared out. Do you have, fail safe is shut the water off at the street. Clear your lines, make sure that you don't have anything that's holding, and shut your hot water heater off so you don't burn it out when you shut the water off. Things like that. But surge protectors, because summer storms are no joke in Tennessee. And so making sure that you either have surge protection or you've shut down non-essential appliances so that you don't have smoke damage or appliance fry outs, things like that. But on the water damage side, check your roof before you leave. You would be amazed how many water damages come from that one bad shingle. And then gutters, making sure they're clear, especially if they're going underground. Those collapse a lot of times. People don't know it. You have a major storm, it backs up, and then it's coming in under the gutters and fascia and that kind of thing. So those are some big ones. But backflow, look at your flow preventers. Do you have those on your house? They have some really great equipment out that can prevent water damages and even shut down the water while you're gone.
I was going to say that. Isn't there some water? I know there is. There's specific devices that if they see too much water flow, it'll literally shut your water off.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things you can have to not have to need me when you come in. We had another lady that just during these past winter storms, she was in Paris for a few weeks, and she did all the right things. So she thought she capped her outside spigots. She made sure the heat was on. Somebody was supposed to be coming by. They got sick. They didn't get to come by. And she had an interior pipe rupture. It poured for a week because she had a really deep crawl space. So it was a swimming pool in her crawl space. And the whole ceilings were caving in, walls were caving in. Basically, her beautiful Green Hills home had to be 90% gutted.
Holy
because
cow.
it was wet for so long.
That's crazy. And she did the right things,
except for shutting the water off or having that piece of equipment that would shut it down if it saw excessive usage. Yeah. $100 is now costing her $300,000. Well, the insurance company, that's part of that fight that I have to go through on that side of giving her the value of what really needs to happen, and so that's a long process.
Yeah, and we've talked about these things at length a few times. So let's tell our viewers what you need to look for when you're hiring a restoration company. Heaven forbid that you have one of these disasters.
Yeah.
What are some things that they need to be on the lookout for to make sure people have?
Choice Property Restoration. I'm the president of our company, been in business since 2011, and I'm a master certified restorer of water, fire, mold, and many other things that I won't bore you with, but we are a restoration company that's privately owned, and we work for our homeowners when they have issues of water, fire, mold, indoor air quality issues, all kinds of things. So if you have an issue where you say, there's a funny smell, or I've got a water stain somewhere and I'm not sure, or I want to get my crawl space checked out, those are great things for us to be able to come and take a look at because we are professionals and masters in our field of those things. So call Choice Property Restoration. We'll respond in a heartbeat. You can reach us at 615-866-7989 or by email rusty@cprnash.com. Check out our website at www.cprnash.com. Make sure they have a brick and mortar location, that it's not just guy out of the bed. And nothing against the small guy that does the little repairs, but they need to have the equipment on hand to handle what you need. So make sure that they have a certification either from the IICRC, the RIA. We carry little cards. If you're new at it, it's going to be white. And it's going to say, hey, I'm in water restoration. And that's great. They know that one thing. If they're a journeyman, it's going to be silver. If it's a master, it's going to be gold. So that's a big thing to know. Do you want somebody who's a starter, the middle guy, or a master working on your property? And that's a helpful thing. And you can actually verify, because people can make those little certifications. You can go online to the IICRC or the IRA and put in their number and verify that it's valid.
I didn't realize there was 3 different certifications. That's pretty cool. That's good to know, because you want the right person in there.
Yeah.
And nothing against, everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah,
everybody's got to grow their business. I started 5 years ago, and we're 5.5 years ago. We're still figuring it out every single day. So let's dig in a little bit deeper to what you have to do with the insurance companies, right? So I know, and having claims in the past, I haven't had many, thankfully, but there's a lot of things I didn't understand when I had a claim. I didn't understand that there was money that came at the back end.
Yeah.
Right? They were like, we're paying this much. And I'm like, that's not enough to fix my house.
Yeah.
So I was personally at that point trying to fight with them.
Sure. Not
knowing what I was doing. And then after it was all said and done, I got another check and I was like, well, that made it a little better.
Oh, that's a little better, yeah. Well, first, you want to make sure that the person who you're hiring is specialized in insurance claims. Because again, you're really great at putting things together and taking them apart, but you don't do insurance claims every day. And do they even use the software that the insurance company uses? Yeah. For example, Xactimate is a big one that's used, and they have several different others out there. So knowing that the person you're dealing with is familiar with that program, because they literally line item everything.
Oh, I know.
Down to screwing down the subfloor.
How many screws you're allowed to have,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So if you don't know that line item, you can severely undercut yourself and your homeowner, and then they don't have the funds, and the insurance company is happy because they say, oh, the adjuster came out and they offered me XYZ. And sometimes they're really great. They've been in the field a long time and they're pretty decent at it. They're never 100%.
Sure.
So and their job is literally in their name, to adjust what you're telling them that you need so they can be favorable to the insurance. Well, my job is to be an advocate for that homeowner. Whereas, if you have I don't have any of the programs that a lot of insurance companies have where they say, oh, we'll send out our preferred vendor. Well, that's great, but that preferred vendor can tell you they're working for you all day long.
Yeah.
Technically, they're the middleman between you and the insurance company because they've agreed with the insurance company, for you to send me these, I'll not do XYZ, or I'll give you preferred pricing on XYZ. And so it's a little gray area. I'm not on any of those plans, so my job is strictly to fight for the homeowner and what they need without being a public adjuster,
Sure.
And so it's a fine line that we have to carry, but it's a knowledgeable one where I can say, hey, Mr. Adjuster, yes, this is 5/8. Here's the picture that it's 5/8, not half-inch drywall. Hey, here's an ITEL report that says this is how much this flooring costs. Those things are really important to know how to do and how to navigate when you're trying to deal with your insurance.
Yeah, and is there, not to call out insurance companies, but is there certain insurance companies that say, hey, you have to work with our restoration company? You can't hire your own?
No, actually, a lot of people believe that, and they don't know what they don't know, right?
Sure.
So you have a right to choose whoever you want to work on your place. Now, they can strongly suggest someone and say, hey, you're in it. And a lot of people are in that tense situation where they're like, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to call. The insurance says they're good. Let me take them. And then you end up with a situation. Yeah. Whereas if you know someone ahead of time, and we do a lot of pre-planning for homeowners, businesses, things like that. We actually do disaster recovery plans where we can tag their water lines and let them know where the shutoffs are, because a lot of homeowners don't even know that.
That's very true.
So we tag the lines for them. We do a sketch of the house, what's important to them, what are family heirlooms, or for companies, where's your IT, where's your important equipment, where are those things, so that we can have a communication plan ahead of time. And sometimes it can even save them money on their insurance because they can submit it to the underwriter. Having that plan and relationship ahead of time can save them money.
Wow, so it's a good, easy way to pre-plan in case something ever does happen.
Absolutely. And then you already know that you trust those people. You've had time to vet them. They know your stuff, you know theirs, and it makes it an easy process.
So some of the things that people ask me is, when do I file an insurance claim? Should I file an insurance claim? How does a homeowner know when it's a good time to file a claim?
Well, and that's a great question, because it can not look like a big deal and then you get into it and it's a big deal. So if there's rot, don't file the claim. That's a long-term damage that they're not going to cover. And then you still get hit for the claim and your insurance rates goes up, even though they didn't pay you a dime. But if you've had something that's sudden and unexpected, like a dishwasher line ruptures, a washer backs up and starts spilling out and water's going everywhere, the first thing to do is actually call the restoration company, let us look at it, and then find out what is your deductible. Because a lot of people don't even know that they thought they had a $1,000 deductible, but they have a 10%. And so that's a good question to ask. You can call your agent or call the company and say, hey, I just want to find out, is this, what is my deductible, and is this something that's covered? That's the first question before you say, I want to make a claim. But let's say that you had a sewage line backup. People usually think that's a water damage. It's not. It's sewage backup, and that's a specific item that you have to have on your insurance for them to cover it.
Huh.
So check with your insurance on that.
I would do that today.
Also, mold. A lot of people, I have mold, I need to call my insurance. Very few companies cover it without a special rider. There are a few, and usually they'll cover between $3,000 and $10,000 if they cover it at all. So that's really important to find out if you have that coverage, because if you find that, like in your crawl space, or you're tearing out, remodeling a shower, and you find significant mold, I'm sure that's been an issue you've run into.
All the time.
And so people are like, I didn't know. But also, it's not always bad if you do have microbial growth, as long as there's not rot there, because mold can grow within 24 to 72 hours. And so if you've had a leak there that was sudden and unexpected, or a drain that failed, especially shower pans, if those fail and it's a sudden disconnect, that can be covered, but it's stuff you don't even see until you're in the actual remodel. So it's good for remodelers to have somebody like me to come out and look at it and just say, yeah, this actually could be coverable, or no, it's not. And you can still do the repair side.
Yep.
Just let me get the mess cleaned up and get you ready to do it. And we can get it covered by insurance.
And let's talk about, so when it can't be covered by, or it's not going to be covered by insurance, right?
Yeah.
It's just a simple cleanup and then, or painting. I know there's some specific products that you use that will kill that growth, and then you'll treat it so that it doesn't come back again. So what are those items that you use to do, or type of things you do? So
there are a lot of different items that we can use, and it depends on, does somebody have a chemical sensitivity? We've got green products and the, harsher stuff depending on the situation and how fast it needs to be handled, that kind of thing. But actually, peroxide-based products are really good for remediation, and it has to be a really high concentration, like level that the girls go get their hair done, 20%.
Okay.
I mean, we're using that level stuff, so if you're not PPE'd up, you're coming out with orange hair.
Yeah.
So, but those are things that we can utilize, and then we have fully green products that you can spray on, and it takes a little longer and some agitation to go with it, but it'll do the exact same thing. The one thing that they need to be knowledgeable about, though, is there's a lot of pest control companies that have come out saying, oh, we treat mold and we do that. And yes, we have to carry a pest control license because technically a lot of the things that we do are also registered as pest. And so you have to have that license as well. But that doesn't mean I'm out killing bugs.
Sure.
But those applications will kill the growth that's visible. It may not kill the seed of the spore. And so it could possibly come back. And they've said, well, we just treated it. We put in there that we did a treatment. And they did, but that doesn't stop it from coming back. And so full remediation versus doing treatment, two very different things. And you need to make sure that you understand that.
Well, there you go. You got to be educated and you got to find a professional, right? Hey, Rusty, thanks so much for coming out today. Really appreciate it. This whole podcast is built around how we educate customers, and you certainly did that today. So thanks again.
Absolutely. I'd love to give you, we have a sheet that you can send out to people or post it that gives them some vacation tips of what to do before they leave.
Great idea. Like and subscribe, follow us on all the socials, and I look forward to seeing you next week.